Hello everyone. Uh, Today I'm going to talk about a little workflow improvement that I've been working on. Um, I believe everyone's been through one of those early design phases where you pretty much messing around with program blocks, um, and you kind of wish that you could right away see the result of what the facade would look like at the same time when you're shuffling around those boxes. So if you look at this rendering, um, I've set up a definition in Grasshopper that basically allows you to do that while you moving the boxes around and reshuffling those elements of program. The facade updates itself automatically based on their location. So imagine that these open areas over here are defined as public. That will be that yellow boxes here. So those are much more open areas. And then these are kind of semi-public, classroom spaces, whatever. And then these could be, storage or some, kind of private spaces. So based on the location of all those public, private, each one of those boxes kind of gets assigned a parameter that controls their opacity on the facade. And subsequently you can move those around as much as you want, and the facade's going to automatically update based on their location. It really helps in early design phases to be able to visualize what the building's going to look like on the exterior while you're still kind of shuffling the program boxes around, trying to figure out the best stacking diagram. So let me walk you through the definition I've set up in Grasshopper and Rhino. So the program boxes are just simple, geometry boxes. In Rhino, I put them on different layers to give them colors so I can know which ones are what. And I put a surface over it. This is the surface that I'm going to be working with in Grasshopper to create that geometry that you saw in the rendering. So what happens is that each one of those spaces, for example, if I define the yellow boxes to be lobby, I'm bringing those in, and then I'm dividing them into panels. So here's what happens: I divide each box into panels, and then I place points on the surface of each one of those panels. And the amount of those points is important because it can later drive the geometry. But basically, each one of those boxes kind of gets divided with points, and those points become the attractor points that control the facade. So I go through remapping a bunch of those points and assigning, different formations. As you can see in the image, you'd be probably wondering where the geometry is. So the inspiration for that geometry is called the gills surface. Name comes from the fish's gills, and if you look at images of sharks and their gills, you kind of get the idea where this surface kind of comes from. But basically, I've taken this gills surface and I've added another parameter that controls the displacement in the x kind of direction, horizontal. So it not only moves up that one edge, but it also moves it over a little bit. So it's a little modified gills surface. So you basically have those three pieces of program as I define a storage, classroom, lobby. You take each one of those boxes, put some points on top of it, and those points and their distance to all the points on the grid. So if you look at all these points on the grid, so the distance to all these points on the surface that I created kind of drives the amount of distortion at the surface, the amount, how much it opens up. And given that I have all three different programs and each one of them, you can define their own parameters. And some of the parameters I've been using is the field of influence, which is how much, you can see it on the rendering, is how much each one of those points can influence, like the area they influence. And then there's some other parameters. This is the main parameter that controls kind of displacement. So let me turn the final surface on and turn everything else off. So you can start seeing that the areas that have the yellow become much more open, and then the gray areas, which are storage, they're defined as 0. I want to keep them closed. They're all closed off, or it tapers off and closes off in gray areas. There's always this little bit of an overlap. And then the orange areas, which I define as classrooms, are kind of semi-open. And you can obviously, you know, you can go to top view is probably the best way to work with this, and shuffle some of those parameters around. So if these are the classrooms, and you think these openings are not big enough, you can kind of change up the parameters. So each one of those pieces of program has their own set of parameters defined, so you can adjust those. And then if you think that the lobby is too open, you can come in and kind of close off all the lobby areas all at the same time. So this is how I've set this up, and basic idea is that you can really quickly shuffle around between pieces of programs. So let's say that all of a sudden all those gray areas become classrooms. All you gotta do is just reassign them, and you can start seeing that the geometry changes. The classroom areas kind of become much more open. And if you say, oh, the storage moved, and now like this whole area is, I'm sorry, say this whole area is storage, let's give it a second to process. You can start seeing them kind of close off. So the geometry adjusts automatically. So what I have to do after that is I project all that onto a vertical surface. So you can I like working with the horizontal surfaces, and then I project everything up on the vertical surface, and you can bake it, export it to 3ds Max or whatever, and then start creating renderings. So here's a couple of shots that I created with my lobby areas, classrooms. Here's another shot. So that's it. That's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple workflow. It'll get you going with facade studies, and you can obviously design, different geometry, set up different parameters, add more pieces to add more, different varying programs, and obviously pick different surfaces to assign it to if you want it. So yeah, here's a basic workflow for working between facade design and stacking diagrams. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll have it posted on my blog, archilab.net, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I can send you the files, definitions, just let me know.